with Misanthropik Torment, all the way from Lexington, Kentucky. Hi guys, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. I understand the weather there is very similar to the weather in Manchester today. Kind of rainy and a bit gloomy.
Yeah. Pretty gloomy.
Pretty gloomy, yeah.
Hey, but it's good for songwriting, you know? Good weather for just the right mood to get you in that, the kind of music that we write anyway, you know?
You're not overly...
People aren't familiar with your band. Can you describe what kind of music you do write and what your style is?
You know, I love to hate this question, and let me explain.
Sorry to ask you.
We are a metal band, and the genre that we do is all metal.
Yeah.
We love metal. I don't care what kind of metal it is. Metal is metal to me. I hate the subgenres. I do understand the need for people to classify stuff, but when it comes to my band, Misanthropik Torment, we've done thrash metal, black metal, death metal, industrial black metal, some punk metal, and some new metal. We're even branching off on some slower Seether type stuff. So we just take it's basically all of our influences, because I grew up listening to a lot of Death, Kiss, Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, you know, so I got a lot of influences, and I don't want to be limited to just one kind of music. I want to do it all. If my vocals are capable of it, and his guitar playing is capable of it, I want to do it all, you know?
Yeah, and that's very refreshing to hear, because a lot of bands and fans as well can get quite hung up on the subgenres.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice that you're sort of uniting them there for everyone.
Yeah, and there's too many people out there trying to there's too many people out there trying to be brutal all the time. There's more than one emotion to music, to metal music. You know, we go through all kinds, and it's about overcoming these adversities in our life. And you go through sadness, you go through anger. It's like the 5 stages of grieving. You can call that the 5 stages of metal, man, because there's all kinds of different emotions that you can put in there.
That's very true. Very true. Now, the guitarist here is Mackenzie Brown. Should have introduced you, and singer, lead vocalist Eric Draven. I've got to ask you about your name, Eric. I'm assuming that's not the name you were born with, right?
No. My real name.
It rings a bell with me.
My legal name is Eric Leviathan Scarlett. Now, the reason that I took Draven as my stage name is because all right, here's a little bit of history about me. I spent 16 years of my life in prison for stabbing a pedophile, which is why I talk about a lot in my music, killing pedophiles. I grew up from a long line of abuse and a long line of stuff that just made me who I am today. So I like to think of myself as a spirit of vengeance, because I will stab a pedophile without thinking twice. I don't want to go back to prison, but, you know, people who abuse people, my music talks about overcoming abuse. It talks about having that spirit inside of you to be strong enough to make it through these things, because everybody endures it, man. You know, and then we also talk about, like, the government and how it's messed up. But mainly my music is about overcoming drug addiction, overcoming the childhood trauma and stuff like that. So Eric Draven, the movie The Crow, it was a huge inspiration to me. I grew up when I was like 9-10 years old when that movie came out, and I watched that movie, and there's a line in there that stuck with me through my whole life, and he says, "Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children." And, you know, I went through a lot of abuse, mainly from my mother, so it was an inspiration to me. So I hope that my music, no matter how dark it is, can reach out and help somebody in their darkest times.
I did a bit of research into your band, obviously, like I always do before interviews. And very interestingly, when I read your bio on your social media pages, it really stood out to me. I don't think I've ever read a bio quite like this for a band before. I'll just read it to you so we can sort of discuss it. But Misanthropik Torment is a band whose sole purpose is to stand against tyranny, advocate for the execution of all domestic terrorists, alongside rapists and paedophiles. We must kill them. No more will we sit back in the shadows and be quiet. So what we were just discussing sort of, a minute ago, that really ties in with this description. And that's a very, very powerful statement to make.
I feel I've done enough time, and I spent enough time in life and in prison and been through enough crap, and I have a lot to say. And I have a lot to say that could help other people, because everybody who's been through stuff carries around this weight, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to sit back. The problem with the world today, and I don't know all the answers, I don't have the answers, but I know what not to do. And if you're doing something and it's wrong, the obvious answer for that is to stop and do the opposite. But people are so content being led around like sheeple. I'm not going to sit back and be quiet while I watch people get abused. I'm not going to sit back and watch injustice go on in the world. If I'm upset about something, nobody really wants to listen to a conversation, but they'll hear it in music. So you make a song about it and people listen to it enough, they're going to start understanding, hey, this is wrong. I need to do something I need to stand up for myself and not be a victim no more. I need to become a survivor instead of a victim, you know?
Do you think, though, that in putting out a statement like that, it advocates violence?
I don't I understand advocating violence. Now, a pedophile, let me explain. I'm going to get educational on you guys right now.
Sure.
Rapists, child molesters, if you take somebody who is of age of their brain maturing and you give them an MRI, it is proven scientific fact that their brain lights up in a different way than normal people's. Sociopaths, psychopaths, pedophiles, they all light up differently. The problem is you can't persecute somebody if they haven't done a crime, which that's fine. If you never do it and your brain lights up that way, kudos to you for being stronger than your urges. But if somebody actually crosses that line, there's no coming back from that. They can't be fixed. There's no amount of therapy in the world that can fix them because they're always going to have those urges because it's in their brain. It's a sickness and it can't be cured. So the best way to do that, I'm sorry, a child's life is worth more than anybody else's. We've already lived our lives. Our children are our future. You hurt a child, you just destroyed what that kid could have been. So yes, I do advocate for the execution of pedophiles. Domestic terrorists, them as well, because look what they're doing. This world is falling apart. Look around you. Everybody's going crazy right now because people want to make stuff about race. Our world leaders want to they don't care. They don't care except for it's their agenda to push to keep people oppressed. So yeah, I believe in the Constitution. I believe that things should be done differently. I believe that we need to tear it all down to rebuild it in the eyes of the people because power should belong to the people. It should be people against tyranny. You know what I mean? I don't have all the answers, but I do have my opinion and I hope it's worth something. I do not advocate for anybody to go out there and hurt anybody for no reason. That's just wrong. You know, you got grievances, take it to the people who deserve it.
Okay. I want to get back to the music. So you've got your latest single, More Must Die This Night. It
Yes.
does sound a bit like you're advocating violence there.
Well,
but tell us about the new single anyway.
This song is about a friend of mine. I won't name her, but she was brutally assaulted and in a bad way, you know, and basically I can share that sentiment, you know. So the song is about her overcoming her trauma and basically all these people that abused her, she went around and she murdered them one by one, but it didn't happen in real life. It is a fantasy. Who doesn't fantasize about hurting their abuser? If somebody hurts you in such a vile way and touches your soul without permission, who doesn't fantasize or want to kill them? So I just say what everybody else wants to do. You know what I mean? It's a fantasy. I don't expect somebody to go out there and kill their abuser. If you are being abused, please call the cops or call somebody who can help you, you know? But it's a creative outlet. It's a fantasy thing, and people will enjoy listening to it because a lot of people have been abused and they want to kill their abuser. I promise you.
Yeah, well, you have your 2019 album, which was Mayday Rotten Hell. Are you planning another release this year?
This year, no, because 2020. Yeah, actually, you know what? There is a release this year. I'm sorry, it's already done. We're sitting on it. It's called. I've been so caught up in this other album we're working on, and before we start talking about that, this is called "Down the Rabbit Hole of All Plausibility." It's a black metal style album, and it just rocks. It's all about. In fact, More Must Die This Night is on that album. You know, it's about overcoming abuse. It's like Alice going down the rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole of abuse and coming out of it. All plausible things can happen. Darkness, light, you know, everything that can happen is in this album. And there is, even though my music is dark, if you notice on every song, there's a positive outcome at the end. You know, it's all about overcoming. It's all about overcoming the adversities in life.
Right.
Ken,
Okay.
say something, bro.
I don't know, where do I start, Lord? I can get about my backstory. I'm just a crazy hillbilly from the mountains of West Virginia originally, and been here in Kentucky about 3 years. About 7, 8 months ago, this man walks up to my store and is just like, "Hey, you like metal, bro?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do, and I happen to play guitar too." He's like, "Oh, really?" And that was the beginnings of me joining this band.
Wow. So had the band already formed at that point when you joined, or was Eric looking to put it together when he met you?
Well, it never was really fully together, and we're working on that.
Hold on. I have previous albums before this guy. I had lineups, and I don't play well with others sometimes. But I'm not going to mention his name. I had to fire my whole lineup for drug use. I don't allow drug use in my band. I've went through my addictions, and I've overcome them. I've been clean since 2012 from everything except for marijuana. But so when I have meth heads coming over at 2:00 in the morning talking about let's go party, and I'm like, dude, I have a kid, I have a wife, I have a life. I'm a grown man. I had to fire people, and I'm not going to name any names, but basically my previous albums, they kind of suck because my drummer sucked.
Blame on the drummer. That's it.
Yeah, but basically when I met him, I had just went through a lineup change, and I was like, you look metal, so let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to tour? I mean, obviously this year would be out, I'm guessing, because of the pandemic, but maybe next year?
I'm planning on July 4th of 2021. We are planning on releasing 1776, The Divided States of America. It's an album we're working on right now. So in between then, we have shows coming up right now. We have Mountains of Metal on October 4th. We have the Thompson House on September 18th and 19th, and a Mag Bar in November. But the problem with that is they might get canceled because of COVID-19. So we're hoping by next year, after this album drops, we can hit a tour through. I'm trying to get to Europe. I got a lot of connections out there. The problem is finances and COVID-19, not being able to leave the state or the country, etc. But touring is definitely something we want to do. I run an independent label as well, so I've got a lot of connections throughout the globe. Misanthropik Records.
You're the founder of Misanthropik Records as well. So tell us a bit about that. When did you decide to found your own record company?
Well, that's awesome that you asked that, because before Misanthropik Records, obviously there was Misanthropik Torment, and Misanthropik Records is what came of Misanthropik Torment. The reason for that is we had a label coming by. This was before McKinsey. They wanted to sign us, and I was like, okay. And at this time I was doing everything myself, and I was winging it all on my own, and they're like, well, but you got to pay us between $5,000 and $8,000 to be on our label. Well, number one, no label is supposed to charge you for being on the label. They charge you for promotional services, the creation of vinyl, CDs, etc., etc. So that was a red flag to me in the beginning. And then I said, well, what are you going to do for me? And everything that they were going to do for me, I was doing for myself, except for they put me in Kerrang! Magazine. It's a great magazine, but I'm not paying $8,000 to get in there. I'm sorry. I'm a kid. I have a baby, a wife, a life, Other than this band, it takes money to do a bunch of stuff. Sure. So I started doing my research, and then I went and I got licensed to have my domain name and everything, and I created Misanthropik Records because I can do everything all these other people out there are doing, but for cheaper. And that's what it's about. It's not about getting rich. It's about spreading the metal and doing it that way, because if you're trying to get rich off of it, the scene's going to die. The scene, it will die. So many good bands out there. There's a lot of great bands on my label, and I don't understand why they're not signed by a bigger label. Being 100% honest, they are so freaking good. But the reason why these bands aren't signed by bigger labels is because they lack the finances. It doesn't matter about your talent anymore. It matters about your finances, and that's what bothers me. So I created Misanthropik Records to do everything that these labels are doing, just for cheaper, for other bands. I'm the guy that ain't there for me.
And I totally agree with that. If you can do it yourself and you're benefiting the scene as a whole, then why the hell not? You know,
Yeah.
it's obviously there's a lot wrong in the industry where the people that should be getting the recognition and should be getting paid properly aren't. So if you're able to address that balance and make it fairer for everyone involved, for the artists that are, you know, supplying the music to begin with, then yeah, all power to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I run a radio show. I'm a busy guy.
You are, aren't you? Your name's popping up all the time.
Yeah, I'm a busy guy, man. I don't even know how I have time to sleep, but I love what I do. That's why I say my radio show is called Eat, Sleep, and Breathe Metal. I mean, I wake up in the morning, my first thought is, all right, what can I do to better my situation with my music today? You know, and then, all right, who do I got to network today? And then my radio show. Like tonight, I'm going on the air from 8 p.m. to 11 with Eat, Sleep, and Breathe Metal, Kentucky Underground. You know, it's nonstop. This is what I do. It's what I live, other than my child and my wife.
Yeah. And I think you've got to be that way. You know, if you're creative and you really believe in what you're doing, you have that passion, that's how you've got to be. And I totally get it. Because I'm like that myself. I'll wake up and think, right, what can I do today to promote the bands, to support them more than I did yesterday? And that's how you've got to be. You've got to continually push yourself forward to, you know, basically to succeed in what you want to do. So to make the scene better as well. So really, really good, you know, hearing that from you as well. And I wish you all the best with it. And of course,
Thanks.
all the bands that you represent.
This band right here is called Left to the Wolves. They're going to be playing with us on September 18th.
Right, okay. And where's that going to be?
September 18th at the Thompson House in Newport, Kentucky.
Right, so anybody watching this that's going to be in that neck of the woods around the September time,
yeah,
that's when you can see them.
I've ordered a hazmat suit just in case the show happens, so I'm going to decorate it all metal, throw on my battle vest with my hat with all my metal pins,
Nice.
make it look metal. Yeah. And I'm going to be hotter than hell up there, but
you will.
We do it for the love of metal.
You need to get good air conditioning up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll be all right then.
Most definitely.
Wishing you all the best. Keep in touch. Let us know how you're getting on if you do come to Europe or UK. And great seeing you guys.
Awesome. Great seeing you too. And if I do come to Europe, you get a free t-shirt and you get in for free.
What more
I have one thing left to say before you hang up. To everybody. This is to everybody out there.
Which translates as
Eat, sleep, and breathe metal.
Bye guys. Love to all. Take care.
Yes.